Before tanks, before drones, and even before gunpowder, terror on the battlefield could come on four legs. Imagine a Roman battlefield, dust rising, spears clashing, shields rattling, men screaming. In that chaos, suddenly, a swift shadow darts across the warfield. Muscular, agile, obedient, yet fierce. It was not a man, it was not a horse. It was the Canis pugnax, the Roman war dog. This was not a camp pet, not a mascot for soldiers to play with. It was a weapon, alive, breathing, and trained to kill. Legionaries trusted their lives to this beast, and although history books rarely mention its name, its legacy lived on in the blood and memory of those soldiers. But how did such a creature come to exist? How did Rome, master of armies and conqueror of continents, forge this living gladiator? To answer that, we must travel back. Before Rome, before Caesar, back to the mountains of Greece, where monsters were bred by shepherds and kings alike. The story begins in Epirus, today's northwestern Greece and southern Albania, a land of rocky mountains, dangerous passes, and wild predators. Here lived the Molosers, dogs of enormous size, bred by the Molosian tribe. These dogs were not household pets, they were guardians of herds and villages. Wolves, bears, and even lions roamed these lands, and only the Molosers stood between flocks and death. Ancient writers could not ignore them. Aristotle described them as the strongest of all dogs. Virgil praised them in his poems, calling them beasts capable of tearing even a lion's throat. Massive, broad-headed, with jaws like iron traps, they were loyal, yet terrifying. They were symbols of both protection and destruction. The Romans, ever practical, saw in the Molosers more than shepherd's dogs. They saw the beginnings of a weapon. Rome began importing them, crossing them with other breeds, local Italian mastiffs, Celtic war dogs, and even animals captured from Germanic tribes. The experiment had one goal: to create a dog fit for war. Not just brute strength, not just ferocity, but also obedience and discipline. From these crosses, over decades of selection, emerged a new creature, the Canis pugnax. The Latin name Canis pugnax literally means combat dog, but the dog behind the name was far from ordinary. Standing around 60 centimeters tall, weighing 40 to 50 kilograms, covered in dark fur that blended into the night, it was a predator trained not for hunting animals, but for destroying men. Its bark was deep and guttural, a sound that could freeze the blood of an enemy soldier. Its muscles rippled with each step, and its eyes, dark and unflinching, betrayed no hesitation. What made the Canis pugnax unique was not just its physical power, but its discipline. Unlike barbarian dogs that attacked wildly, this Roman creation was trained like a soldier. Attack only on command, recognize allies by scent, hold position under stress, fight until death if necessary. In short, the Romans turned raw instinct into military doctrine. Before it marched in formation, the Canis pugnax first appeared in another arena, the gladiatorial games. By the 2nd century BC, Roman spectacles were not just about men fighting men. They were grand operas of death and blood. Into these arenas, starved for days, the Canis pugnax was unleashed. They fought condemned criminals, prisoners of war, and even exotic beasts brought from Africa and Asia, lions, tigers, bears. The crowd roared as chains fell and the black dogs tore into flesh. Some dogs became famous, earning names and public applause like gladiators themselves. They were living executions, entertainment molded into fangs and claws. But Rome soon discovered something greater. These dogs were not just monsters for the circus. They were soldiers in waiting. As the empire expanded, Rome faced tribes across Europe who already used war dogs: the Celts, the Scythians, the Germans, the Britons. These enemy dogs leaped over shields, tore at legionaries' legs, and defended their masters' corpses until death. The Romans, impressed, refined their own beasts further. Training was rigorous. They marched 35 kilometers a day with the legions, sometimes carrying small packs of food or messages. They slept inside camps, guarding the perimeters at night. They learned to distinguish Roman scent from barbarian scent. They ignored the chaos of battle: the horns, drums, screams, and fire. A canis pugnax did not break ranks. It waited. It obeyed. It attacked when ordered. On campaign in Germania or Dacia, these dogs became Rome's night sentinels, alerting soldiers to ambushes long before human eyes or ears could. In this role, they were more than animals. They were legionaries. Though official histories rarely mention dogs, glimpses survive. In 101 BC, at the Battle of Vercellae, the invading Cimbri tribes unleashed dogs to guard their camps. Roman sources describe them fighting to the last breath, even after their masters were slaughtered. During Caesar's campaigns in Gaul and Britannia, he encountered tribal dogs guarding villages and fortresses. Rome did not ignore these lessons. They copied, improved, and integrated. Soon, canis pugnax units marched with detachments across hostile provinces. Sculptures, like those on the column of Marcus Aurelius, show dogs alongside legionaries. They are not decorations, they are tactical assets. These dogs could tear through ambushes in forests, chase down fleeing enemies, and protect supply wagons. In close combat, they targeted enemy horses, breaking cavalry charges. Fear was as powerful as their bite. An enemy facing Roman steel and Roman dogs knew terror on two fronts. And yet, their loyalty made them beloved. Many legionaries valued their dogs above slaves. Some fed them special rations. Some buried them with simple tombstones carved with inscriptions of loyalty and love. A few veterans even retired with their canine comrades, taking them back to villages as guardians and companions. But empires change, and so does war. As Rome declined, heavy infantry warfare gave way to cavalry and siege engines. Dogs slowly disappeared from the battlefield. The original lineage of the canis pugnax faded, crossbred into other mastiff-like dogs, eventually dissolving into history. Yet echoes remained. Modern breeds such as the Neapolitan Mastiff and Cane Corso still carry fragments of their ancestors' blood. Their heavy heads, muscular builds, and instinctive guarding behavior are living fossils of that Roman experiment. Even today, Cane Corsos are known for their loyalty, territorial nature, and disciplined demeanor. When you see one, you are seeing a shadow of Caesar's battlefield. History celebrates generals, emperors, war horses, and weapons. But the canis pugnax, soldier, gladiator, executioner, rarely appears in chronicles. And yet ask the men who marched with them. To those legionaries, these dogs were not forgotten. They were brothers in arms, They guarded the camps, shared the hunger, marched in the mud, and bled on the battlefield. Perhaps their story was not written in marble or papyrus, but it was written in scars, in loyalty, in death. So today, when we remember the heroes of Rome, should we not also honor the four-legged warriors who stood beside them? The Canis Pugnax, forgotten by historians, but never by the soldiers who trusted their lives to it.